Welcome, Pewter Report readers, viewers, and listeners to a brand new edition of the Pewter Report podcast, energized by Celsius, the official energy drink of PewterReport.com. Hope everybody is having a great Wednesday. Shout out to all the Pewter people in the chat getting ready to watch this show. We're on to week 2. It is the Bucs versus Bears preview show, the home opener for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We're going to break down all of the matchups and some fun stuff. And it was very fun stuff that we saw today from the Bucs facility. I'm your host, Matt Matera. Joined with me is the face that runs the place of PewterReport.com, SR, Scott Reynolds. Scott, how are you doing on this fine afternoon?
Doing great. Busy day at One Buccaneer Place today, the Advent Health Training Center. Just a little bit of breaking news here. We have an injury report that's quite interesting, but John Molchen was signed to the practice squad, and that's to fill the vacancy following the Seattle Seahawks signing Raekwon O'Neal to their active roster. So the Seahawks pluck Raekwon O'Neal, who was kind of a promising offensive tackle. Bucs tried to sneak him onto their practice squad. That happened, but Seattle signed him to their active roster and pilfered him right out from underneath the noses of the Buccaneers from the practice squad. So John Molchen back in Tampa. It'll give some Bucs. It'll give the Bucs some depth at center and interior line, and I think that's kind of where they looked at. Raekwon O'Neal was moving inside to playing some guard, so logical move here for the Bucs to bring back Molchen, who knows this offense quite well.
Yeah, I mean, we almost thought he was going to be the backup center when after everything happened to Ryan Jensen and with Robert Hainsey being the top guy. So not the most surprising move by the Buccaneers.
Yeah.
O'Neal was someone that we were at least fond of, I would say, for the potential of what he could be as an offensive lineman. But that's how it goes. There's going to be a number of roster moves and maneuvers this season, so it's just really the first of many.
Yeah, exactly. So just interesting injury news today as well. Let's just jump right to the injury report, which just came out. Not only do the Buccaneers have Kancey sidelined right now, which is to be expected, they're going to take that injury pretty seriously, the calf injury, and he did not re-injure that, which is good news. Kancey played 11 snaps against the Vikings and felt tightness in his calf, so he didn't re-injure the calf. MRIs were negative, which is good, but he did have some tightness lingering from that calf injury. He did practice. He was a full go on Friday and was a limited participant last Thursday. Did not practice today, but perhaps even more concerning for the Buccaneers, a couple of other guys that had some lingering injuries from the Sunday victory against the Minnesota Vikings. Christian Izien, the goal line hero play there from him, snatching his first interception and Tampa Bay's first pick of the year away from KJ Osborne at the goal line just seconds before halftime to keep it a 10-10 lead. Izien is in the concussion protocol, so he will have a couple more days to clear that. He was not participating today. Same with Carlton Davis, Bucs starting cornerback, with a toe injury that he suffered against the Minnesota Vikings. So we will be down there at the team facility tomorrow to see what the status is. Izien probably won't practice tomorrow. I think if he's going to practice, Matt, it might be on Friday, given the concussion protocol.
Yeah.
But we'll see if Carlton Davis and Kancey return to practice. And BakerMayfield showed up in the injury report with an injured right throwing shoulder, but he was a full participant, so probably just some soreness there from Mayfield.
Yeah, that was something that we noticed early on, because Baker, you usually see him right away. He warms up with the defensive lineman when everybody's stretching, but he wasn't out there at first. He also didn't have his jersey on originally, so it was a little bit tougher to find him because he kind of just looked for that bright orange quarterback Bucs jersey. And then they started taking reps, and he was taking the snaps, like handing the ball off to the running backs or simulating that type of thing. But then when it came to throwing, there's a couple of reps before we had to go inside because the media's only allotted so much time. And he actually wasn't throwing. It was just Kyle Trask, and he was simulating it.
Right.
But we knew we were talking to BakerMayfield today as well. So Baker's not in jeopardy of not playing.
Correct.
The Carlton Davis one was a little tricky because we go out there and immediately I'm looking for Kancey because that's what everyone wants to know, whether Kancey was going to play. Christian Izien was not practicing with the team, but he was on a separate field running, doing his own thing. I'm not a doctor by any means.
Yeah.
But he's also been on social media a lot, like retweeting his interception and
Right.
why are people focusing on the Justin
Yeah.
Jefferson hit on him, which probably led to that concussion
Yeah.
situation. But if he's very active on social media and he's running on his own,
Yeah.
I feel pretty good that he's going to be able to play. But Carlton was the one that was intriguing because I saw Jamel Dean out there, and usually Carlton's maybe not like the first guy out there, but
Right.
he's usually off to the side when the Bucs warm up. Like the DBs are usually on the left side altogether. Antoine Winfield, Jr., Carlton, Jamel. But I didn't see him out there. And then when they went to the individual groups, I'm thinking, all right, like maybe Carlton will just kind of come out later, and then you'll see him because you see that a lot with like Devin White and Mike Evans, but no, still nothing. So we tweeted it out on Pewter Report's Twitter, my own as well, that didn't see Carlton.
Yeah.
Possibly he could have came out later, but it's definitely more of a tricky situation because Carlton, for as good as he is, gets kind of nicked up here and there each season, it feels like, and this is just another chapter of that drama.
Yeah. Shaggy, we appreciate you slacking at work and watching the Pewter Report podcast. We have a feeling you're not the only one, and we love you guys, you 4 PMers, as we call you guys. And 3 o'clockers as you are in the Central Time Zone, and you're probably on lunchtime if you're on the West Coast time zone. So it's probably a little easier for our California Bucs fans out there to watch the Pewter Report podcast because they can.
And it's probably dinner time for our international fans.
Yeah, I was gonna say they can do it during lunchtime, and the international folks can have dinner and watch us. So that's good. Scott does not support you slacking on the job. You can watch. No, we do appreciate slacking on the job. We don't slack here at the Pewter Report podcast. I think we're off to a great start here, Matt. We're already 7 minutes in. This could be the best Pewter Report podcast we've ever done. It remains to be seen. We're off to a good start, especially with the super chat here from Cuse, number 44, with the $2 super
Tucker
chat.
Fan.
Yeah, absolutely. We appreciate the super chats the other day and today. So that's awesome. Big show today. We're going to get to Bears versus Buccaneers. I don't think the Bucs are taking this Bears team too lightly, but it just does not look like they're going to present too big of a challenge for the Buccaneers on Sunday. I like the Buccaneers. I've already made 2 bets. I actually got the Bucs at the. I want to say it was right after. It was before the game or after the game. I don't know if I got an early line or what, but I got the Bucs plus 1.5 against the Bears.
Yeah, now they're 3-point favorites.
Yeah, and I got them now minus 2.5, which of course 3 points. So we'll see. But made some big time money off the Buccaneers beating the Vikings. I put 3 bets on the Bucs. I just felt really good about them beating the Vikings, and then I felt even better about it, and I felt even better about it. So cashed in on that. So it was. The Bucs so far off to a good start for me, just like the Colorado Buffaloes. So we'll see. We'll have some gambling stuff for sure. We do. Matt has got a tremendous show just debuted on our Pewter Report TV channel on YouTube, and it's coming out every Friday.
Yeah, every Friday. Pewter picks and props. I'm going to look at obviously the spread for the Bucs and the over/under. Give my opinion on what you should take for each of those. By the way, I was 2-0 on that last week.
Yeah, Matt.
We'll look at some player props that you can use on Underdog Fantasy, higher or lower with certain stats. For guys, I hit 2 out of those 3.
Yeah,
with Mike Evans and KJ Osborne. Unfortunately, Rashad.
You know your stuff, Matt.
I do. And I was 5-2 on my picks this week. I look around the league as well with the spread and over/under around the NFL. So if you're a gambling fan, if you're into fantasy props and things like that, Pewter picks and props coming out every Friday. Very excited to get into week 2 and what's in store for that.
Right here. Whoops. There you go, Matt. Which way are you? You're that way. Okay. There we go.
The look goes like the opposite side.
Yeah.
But also shout out to Bailey Adams in the chat.
Yeah,
Bailey will be joining me on tomorrow's show as well. So we'll get Bailey in the mix.
Well, you know what? Let's go ahead and promo that show, shall we? We've got the graphic right here. Special guest tomorrow, Matt. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So each week we're trying to get a writer or an insider from the opponent the Bucs are playing, just kind of learn about that team a little bit more. And this week we have a Bears writer, Jacob Infante. He does a lot of great work, writes for SB Nation. Really able to break down a lot of the schemes and different formations and everything that the Bears run. So it'll be really cool to get some more inside information on that. And funny enough, the Bucs, it's not going to happen too often this year, even if they play well. The Bucs are a favorite against the Bears, as we kind of talked about with the being a 3-point favorite. So one of the rare times that's actually the case for them. We'll talk about if this is going to be an absolute demolishing for the Bears, for the Bucs over the Bears. But yeah, excited for tomorrow's show. And then of course, Pewter Game Day show is back again at 12 noon. We preview the game for an hour. That's kind of like the pregame show. And then the Pewter Game Day stream goes live as soon as the Bucs start playing. I'll be on the call, giving some thoughts, analysis, live reactions as well. I think that's probably one of the funnest parts when the Bucs make a big play, big in a good way or bad, but a lot of good from that first game. And I'll be on the call. I had so much fun interacting with everybody last week, so let's do it again.
Yeah, it's a great show, folks, especially for those of you. We know that there's many who don't like the announcers, right? They don't have enough of the Bucs insight, or maybe they're rooting against the Buccaneers, not naming any names, but there's a couple of announcers that are not kind to your Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So that's the beauty of Matt, and whether it's Bailey or Josh or Sly or myself, whoever else is on with Matt, you're going to get insight into the team during the game from the press conferences, from the locker room interviews we do, from the inside information we collect during the week, from watching practice, things like that you're just not going to get. That's really going to help accentuate your game day experience. So that's why we call it Pewter Game Day. So check it out. And of course, that Pewter pregame show at noon is going to have a lot of insight into the game as well. So on to our Bucs versus Bears preview. But you know the rules, folks. Anytime you super chat us, we just put the brakes on right there, and we get right to it. So Stephen Whittington with the $4.99 super chat, Matt.
Yeah, thank you, Stephen. Stephen says, did week 1 change anyone's opinion on his possible level of success he could have this season? Are you talking about Baker Mayfield? Are you talking about Todd Bowles? I have a feeling you're talking about Baker Mayfield, but I don't want to speak for you, Stephen. So if you want to put in another comment, just talking specifically about who you mean, we'll happy to get back into it. But if it is for Baker, I think we kind of were, he's talking about Baker. So for Baker, I think we said, the ceiling of this team is about 10, maybe even 11 wins.
Right.
At Baker, we always felt if you get the good form of him back a couple of seasons ago when he helped lead the Browns to the playoffs. And obviously it wasn't just a one-man show with Baker. He had talent on the Browns on offense and defense. He probably has even better talent with this Bucs team. So Baker, in a sense, just doesn't have to get in his own way. And that's what he did in the first game against the Minnesota Vikings. If he continues to play like that, and you couldn't be much worse in the first quarter, I think people will start coming around on Baker a little bit more. Not Houston Astros fans, but everyone else will be coming around on Baker.
And the thing too that I wrote about, maybe I wrote about it in my 2-point conversion, or I might have talked about it in the Pewter Pulse video I did last night about Baker Mayfield, which is this one right here. If you have not checked it out, make sure you do so. It is has Baker Mayfield won you over? It's on Pewter Report TV. It's a quick little 4.5, 5-minute video I did about Baker Mayfield. But the thing that I really liked about Baker and this young Bucs offense, because there's a lot of young players on it, from Trey Palmer to Cody Mauch, Luke Gedicke's in his second year, Rashad White's in his second year, is there wasn't any panic, right? There wasn't any tantrums. There was no finger pointing. There was no throwing helmets. There was no throwing Microsoft Surface tablets. I mean, who would do such a thing, right? I mean, who would do that? But that's a good sign, folks. That's a good sign that this team believes in not only Dave Canales, but also Baker Mayfield. There was no panic, right? And I mean, I'm sitting here watching the game like you guys, going like, wow, man, this offense cannot run the ball, cannot buy a first down, cannot convert a third down. And we're almost close to halftime before they got the first down. And so, they got their first points off of a, gimme field position from Antoine Winfield. Didn't do anything with that other than kick a field goal because they were already right there at the 18-yard line after that sack fumble recovery. But there wasn't any panic. And that to me is a really good sign for this offense moving forward, because they're going to have some more slow starts. Hopefully not against the Bears, but at some point in time, Matt, like as we talked about, this is going to be a process, right? Dave Canales lost the first half to Brian Flores, but won the second half of that game and got out of there with the win. As much as I want to believe in the Buccaneers and give them credit for that win, as you and I talked about today, they beat the Vikings by 3 points, and they did it with a 3-0 turnover margin in their favor. Usually, if it's 3 turnovers to none, usually that's a 10, 14, 17-point win. But the margin of error for this Buccaneer team, especially in its infancy with the offense the way it is right now, is so narrow that they're going to have to almost play perfect football at the start of this season until they really get the engine revved up on offense to where they can go out and get over 20 points per game. And, and I think they've got a decent shot of doing that against the Bears. But, I mean, so far, so good for this offense.
Yeah, and one reason why they never really had to panic, because the worst that they were down in that game was 10-3. It wasn't like they were only down by a touchdown. I'm curious to see how they look. Let's just say they go down by 2 touchdowns or they go down by double-digit points. That's where I'm really curious to see how this team responds. Luckily, I don't think we'll have to worry about that this week against the Chicago Bears, at least, going into the second half. I wouldn't be shocked again if they have a little bit of a slow start, but that's actually something that when we spoke to Rashad White today, he said, like, we cannot fool around. It's important that we get off to a fast start because we didn't last week. So they're taking this very seriously. I don't think they're in any room or position to take any game lightly, especially when they're not the favorites in a lot of them, except for this one. So, I mean, I expect a way better offense. I can't reiterate enough. This is the last time I'll say it, how bad they were in that first quarter. So if they can improve even just incrementally from that first quarter, it'll take them a very long way. So steps in the right direction for the Bucs.
I agree. Colt to Kancey, SR, when the Bucs score a tud on Sunday, will you open 2 cans of Celsius, Stone Cold Steve Austin style, to celebrate in the press box? No, I can't do that in the press box. I will get kicked out of the press box. Never happened to me yet. In 28 years, I've yet to be kicked out of the press box, which is good. Not that I try to get kicked out of the press box. But you know what? That's not a bad idea for Buck fans at home to do that. And the thing about Celsius, and I've already had my second one today, because Mondays and Wednesdays, it's just a busy day for Bucs coverage and all that. And guess what I had today? You saw me, Matt. I had the sparkling lemon lime. It's fantastic. It's one of my afternoon favorites when it comes to Celsius, because some of their flavors, like the fantasy vibe, tropical vibe, they're really sweet. Now, I love those flavors in the morning, but in the afternoon, I'm looking for something that's not terribly sweet, especially if I've had a Celsius for breakfast in the morning, which I always do. And that's where the lemon lime really hits just right. Whether it's lemon lime, whether it's cola, whether it's the Oasis vibe, which has got a little bit of sweetness because that's a sparkling prickly pear lime. It's one of my absolute 3 favorites. Oasis vibe is awesome. And if you saw, Matt, I bought 2 cans today because I got it a special deal at the convenience store. 2 for $4.50. So I grabbed 2. I got the lemon lime for today. I got the Oasis vibe for tomorrow, in case I need it down there at the team facility. And another good afternoon flavor is this Cosmic Vibe, which is a sparkling fruit punch flavor. So make Celsius your number 1 pick, whether it's in the morning, to get you up out of bed, get you ready for work, whether it's in the afternoon, whether you're going to lift or do some exercise, or maybe you need that extra little kick to help wake you up at work. Celsius gives you the essential energy that you need to power through your morning or afternoon or even evening if you're working a late shift. Where can you find Celsius, the official energy drink of Pewter Report? Well, you can go to Amazon.com, click on the store locator, punch in your address, and you'll find them at all sorts of different places, convenience stores, health and fitness stores, grocery stores. And gosh, Matt, you say it all the time.
Yeah, and, something I can't wait to go to again, a bodega.
Bodega. That's right. And once you find the flavors you like, you can also buy them in bulk on Amazon or Instacart. and get them sent to your house. On Amazon, you can use the subscribe and save option, and they'll ship them right to your door, and you'll save some money. So make sure you're drinking Celsius, the official energy drink of Pewter Report.
Absolutely love Celsius and love super chats too. Thank you to The Bridge for this $5 super chat. The Bridge's question is, previously, I've heard that halftime adjustments don't happen often. That was more last year's team. But we hear about Bucs adjustments this week because they made some great ones in week 1. Yeah. Can you clarify what happens at half? Yeah, I think it's a good question for someone that, wants to learn more about the game. So you mentioned the tablets before too. When you go into a game, especially week 1, going up against the Vikings, Brian Flores was the new defensive coordinator for this team. Right. So you didn't really have a lot of tape to go off of, specifically with Brian Flores. So going into the game, the Bucs didn't know a ton of what the Vikings were going to run. And as we learned out, they blitzed a lot in the run game specifically and how they attacked the Bucs passing game. At halftime, that's why they look at all these tablets and say, the defense is in this coverage on this play. The D-line's doing this on that play. They go inside and say, all right, well, when this certain formation is being run, we're going to throw the ball in this direction, or we're going to run it this way, or here's the weakness in their defense figured out. This is what we're going to exploit. So it's a lot of just kind of watching the tablet, reading up on stuff, things you notice. That's why you have guys up in the box as well. Yeah,
Matt, that's a great point, because I think what happens at halftime, right? There's in-game adjustments that are made. They don't wait till halftime to try to make adjustments, folks. And you know that. Yeah. But at halftime, the difference at halftime, and it's very quick. It's a quick 15 minutes. Trust me. When any reporter knows there's a big difference between a 30-minute college football halftime, right, and a 15-minute NFL halftime. The half times, if you're working like we are during a game, 15 minutes goes by like that. Like it seems like 5 minutes. Yeah. Right. We're trying to get some work done at halftime. All of a sudden, boom, it's kickoff again. So what happens during halftime is you have the guys up in the box, right, that are talking to either Todd Bowles or they're talking to Dave Canales with that eye in the sky view. Those assistants and quality control coaches, position coaches, whoever's up there, they come down. They actually get a little bit of face-to-face with the coordinators. They can look at the tablet together and point things out rather than having to communicate, right, via essentially like a telephone line is really what it is, because you can't FaceTime your coaches. So this is one of those instances where they can sit there and they can look at the tablet together and point things out. Another thing, too, is it's an opportunity to have the entire defense or the entire offense together in one section and get some feedback from the coordinators, right? The players can give the feedback to Bowles and Canales, and they can exchange information in that way. Usually on a sidelines, you got the offensive line together, you got the quarterbacks together, you get the receivers together, but this is an opportunity for everybody to kind of come together as one for really what amounts to about 10 minutes tops. But it gets everybody on the same page. And so it's quick, it's fast. I think you look at the results of what happened in the second half. The Bucs offense started clicking. Justin Jefferson got put in shackles. Yeah. They outscored the Vikings 10-7 in the second half and won the game.
Yeah. I think that was a really good breakdown, Scott. So thank you. Yeah. Appreciate it. Steve Whittington with another super chat. Thank you, Steve, for this $9.99 super chat. Lastly, I'm worried about us throwing out an event like the return of the creamsicle uniforms against the Lions after seeing them beat the Chiefs. Yep. We seem to always lose when we do the Ring of Honor, etc. I think they won when it was the Bruce Arians Ring of Honor.
They did, because that was. Well, it was actually supposed to be against the Chiefs.
Yes.
Because in week 4,
the hurricane. Yeah.
The hurricane hit, exactly. So they pushed that back, and it ended up being against the Panthers where they won the division. So interesting. It was supposed to be during the Chiefs. They actually got clobbered on Sunday Night Football, and then later it was against the Panthers, and they ended up winning and won the division that game. To my knowledge, if my memory serves, I want to say from 2009 to 2012, they wore the creamsicles every year. Is that right? 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, 4 years they wore the creamsicles. They won in the debut of the creamsicles as throwback jerseys. Mm-hmm. In 2009, Josh Freeman beat Aaron Rodgers, of all people, in the Green Bay Packers. Tanard Jackson had a late pick six to seal the deal, but Freeman hit Sammy Strouder in the corner of the end zone on 4th down to give the Buccaneers a lead. Tanard Jackson returned a pick six, and that was one of Raheem Morris's 3 wins that year, 3-13 in 2009. Then they proceeded to lose the next 3 years wearing the creamsicle. So hopefully they win that game. Hopefully, when Rondé Barber gets his Hall of Fame ring at halftime of the Bucs-Eagles game on Monday Night Football in Week 3, they win that one. There's not going to be any Bucs Ring of Honor players this year. I don't know if fans even realize that, but there's no inductions this year into the Bucs Ring of Honor. First time in a long time that they haven't had that. So really, the only ceremony they're going to be having this year is Rondé Barber at halftime getting his Hall of Fame ring. He already has the gold jacket. And that's going to be, of course, at the halftime of the Eagles game.
I hope that game goes better than the last time they did something for Rondé Barber when the Bucs played against an NFC East team. That was when he
went to the Ring of Honor.
Ring of Honor, against the Giants. That was Daniel Jones's first career start. Mike Evans had a crazy game, and the Bucs were up 100 in the first half.
Yes.
The Giants came back and won in the second half. But hey, it's a new team, and you never know how each opponent you play against is going to be every season. So,
yeah. Mark Fisher with a donation here. Appreciate it, Mark. As always, SRU wrote Bowles approved the 3rd down goblin pass. How much autonomy does Canales have with play calling? He's got pretty much full autonomy. In situations like that, I think if you're a good coordinator, if you're a good first-year coordinator, if you have a good relationship with your head coach, as Dave Canales does, you run that by the head coach, or maybe Todd Bowles says, hey, Dave, let's go for it here. Let's not run the ball, right? So I'm pretty sure there was some communication there between that because that's a critical down, Matt. I mean, either you run the ball and you probably don't get 10 yards and you're punting the ball back to the Vikings without much time left, but you're still giving Kirk Cousins a chance. However, with regards to that passing attempt, that was kind of a ballsy, go for it, gutsy play call, and it worked. Chris Godwin makes the 11-yard catch on 3rd and 10, and Kirk Cousins does not get the ball back, and the Bucs win.
No, I absolutely love the move because we've seen it 1,000 times. And Todd Bowles said it the other day. We can't playing a team like that. You can't be conservative. You kind of you didn't say this part, but you have to go for the jugular.
Yeah,
you don't give that football back. I don't care that there would have been like under a minute left with the Vikings getting the football because they only need a field goal. And crazy things have happened in Minnesota. Bucs fans will remember because against the Saints, with that big moment in the playoffs. So, yeah, I love the move. I hope the Bucs continue to stay aggressive, whether it's going for it on 4th down, whether it's icing the game out. That's something we talked about on Monday. It's just the aggressiveness of Todd Bowles, and it's clearly it's gone through as osmosis with this team as well.
Yeah, no doubt. Speaking of Todd Bowles, he's going to have to get after Justin Fields, and the Packers got after Justin Fields, sacked him multiple times. I think 4 times on Sunday. No big surprise there. But Fields also fumbled, as he did in this game here back in 2021 when Fields, as a rookie, came into Raymond James Stadium, and Bowles and his defense were all over him, picked him off 3 times, sacked him 4 times, and made life miserable for the rookie. He's gotten a little bit better since then, but he's still kind of a run-first quarterback, struggled to go through his progressions. Yeah. And I would suspect that we're going to see a lot of pressure on Justin Fields again. That seems to work. He threw an ill-advised pick 6 when pressured to Quay Walker last week for the Green Bay Packers. So I think that's kind of the recipe for success here. He does have some escapability for sure. He's an incredibly fast quarterback. He counted for 59 rushing yards out of the Bears' 122 rushing yards last week, Matt. But this Bucs front 7, I think, especially with Devin White maybe spying on him, has got enough speed to maybe corral and contain him a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's the name of the game for the Bucs defense against Justin Fields specifically, is just keep him in the pocket because he's very talented. And I think Justin Fields as a quarterback, I think he's got the arm. He clearly has the legs and the mobility. And Bruce Arians says this all the time. It's like 90% for quarterbacks. It's just from the neck up. It's the head. It's reading everything. And that's where Justin Fields really, really struggles. Even if you watch that game against the Packers, I mean, he had other guys open, and he would either throw to the wrong person and get a 4-yard gain versus a 15-yard gain. And the Bears offensive line is very much a work in progress as well. So, the Bucs in recent years, they went up against Lamar Jackson last season. They went up against Jalen Hurts in the playoffs in 2021, and they played Justin Fields as a rookie that season as well. So this isn't new territory for the Bucs trying to limit a very mobile quarterback. So will they keep him in the pocket? Will they be able to contain him? I would like to think so, for a number of reasons. One being, I really think the Bucs outside linebacker Shaq Barrett and whatever the rotation is after that with Anthony Nelson and JTS and Yaya Diaby.
Diaby.
I think they're going to have their way with the Bears offensive tackles. And another thing that the Bears offensive line really struggled with was when the Packers were blitzing. They had a couple of good corner blitzes as well. And Todd Bowles showed last week, obviously he blitzes the safety nonstop, but they threw in a couple of corner blitzes as well with Jamel Dean and Carlton
double
Davis,
corner blitz. Didn't work out too well, but
I think this week against a still inexperienced up and coming quarterback and an offensive line that clearly struggled a ton, I really love this matchup for the Bucs defensive line.
Yeah, it's interesting because, and you mentioned the Bears offensive line, Darnell Wright, the offensive tackle, had the best game out of them all, and he was his first NFL start. The Bucs really liked him, and he might have been the first pick for the Buccaneers. Kalijah Kancey ended up being that because Wright was gone by then. Yeah, you loved him at the Senior Bowl.
I did.
Really the first one on the Pewter Report staff on the radar there. Super chat here from Q's44. Sorry, couldn't figure out how to send the text to it. Do you think Tuck will get more carries this week? Of course, that's Sean Tucker. Number 44. Yeah, I think he will. I think that this team has not given up on Rachaad White by any means. He did not have a good game. I talked to Rachaad today, one-on-one, and he kind of owned up to it. Yeah, he's got to be more urgent. He's got to be more of an angry runner and more violent, breaking tackles. And that's one thing that Todd Bowles said that the Bears' three-headed monster rushing attack does really, really well. Not just Khalil Herbert, who's had some success with the Bears before. Not just Dante Foreman, who was imported in free agency from Carolina, who had a 100-yard game against Tampa Bay last year in Carolina, but also Rashawn Johnson, who was a favorite of our own Josh Capo. He's a big boy, big load as well. And so they've got three backs that, as Todd Bowles said, they can all break tackles. And that's something that when I talked to Anthony Nelson today, he says, we have to rally, man. We've got to gang tackle these guys because they're tough to bring down. We can't just go mano a mano with them. We've got to continue to gang tackle like they did last week. They held the Vikings to 41 yards on the ground, Matt. And I think they're going to have that same approach here. But Rachaad White's got to be a tackle breaker too on Sunday.
Yeah, we spoke about Rachaad a lot the past couple of days. I'll start with the defense real quick. Just what you were talking about with the three-headed monster and the running backs. The Bears also threw a lot of like different screens and passes out to the flats. Mm-hmm. And that's, again, just making sure that you make those open field tackles. Last week, they were pretty good at it. Christian Izien missed that one that led to the touchdown for Alexander Madison, but he still played a good game, so we'll give him a break.
Yeah.
But that's could be what makes or breaks the Bucs defense this week is can they make those tackles on those plays? Because if the Bears get running, then they can actually do something with Justin Fields and that team. But so obviously that's the number one stop. Rachaad White, as you said, he owned up to it that he could have played much better. I think Sean Tucker will get more snaps just for the fact that I felt he ran fairly well in his first game. It wasn't anything groundbreaking, but then also if we are to believe that the Bucs are going to win this game and win pretty convincingly, well, towards the end of the game, they're just going to try to run out that clock. And if Rachaad White had been in there quite often, then I think you could see Sean Tucker getting a couple of drives like he did last week. He had one drive in particular where he was the main guy. So yeah, Rachaad White, I think, Dave Canales called him a violent runner back when Canales was first brought on board. I think we're going to see a little bit more of that violence from Rachaad White on Sunday's game. We got a super chat from Cat of Max. Thanks for the $5 super chat. They say, can we speak about Vita Vea touchdown? Can we speak a Vita Vea touchdown as a fullback into existence? Just once, I want to see it. maybe Canales will draw something up for Vita. Well, it wouldn't be Vita's first career touchdown. He scored that one against the Atlanta Falcons back in 2019, lining up at tight end. But as a fullback, I think it would be really cool. They did it in 2020 as well with Vita lining up at fullback. He didn't get the ball, but he was blocking on that play. I would absolutely love it, but Dave Canales runs a little bit of a different offense.
Yep. Yeah, no, I agree. And a little bit of insight here. I text Dave Canales from time to time, and one of the things that I'll text him some plays, some interesting trick plays, whether it's college or NFL, whatever. And there was, for example, if you remember back when Sean King I think he was playing the Patriots way back in the day, and they had the fake spike play, and he threw a touchdown pass to Reed Anthony, and it caught the Patriots off guard. And so I sent him that play, and he's like, wow, that's a great play. I remember that play, et cetera. I sent him a video that I saw, and I grab a lot of stuff off Twitter, or X now. And I sent him that video of Vita Vea scoring the touchdown. And usually he responds with a thumbs up or like an exclamation point or whatever, or he'll say something. He didn't say anything there. He did not reply at all. So maybe that's, somewhere in the playbook. We'll see. I did my part. I want to see another big man touchdown from Vita Vea. I think everybody wants to, whether he's catching one like he did in Atlanta off the play action fake, or getting a fullback dive a la Refrigerator Perry in the Super Bowl against the Patriots. So, yeah, why not, right? Let's get Vita back to his roots as an NFL running back, at least for one touchdown. That'd be fun to see.
Zachary Jarvis with the $1.99 super chat says, this Bears team ain't ready for this Florida weather. I mean, it has played a factor before, obviously early in the season, and these Bucs Bears games always seem to be insane. So yeah, we'll see if the Bucs try to really, again, to bring it back to boxing, try to tire them out a little bit, try to hit those body blows and wear them down. I think they're obviously susceptible to it. So Bucs have to play it in their favor, and that's probably why they didn't have too many practices indoors at the indoor facility that they have. They went outside, come rain or shine,
almost every time. Yeah, and Matt, that's a great point too, because with the weather, you really want to be able to ground and pound this team. You really want to be able to get a lead, use the running game. Offensive linemen don't like to pass protect. They really don't, because as much as they're supposed to be on the offensive, when you're in pass protection, you're really on the defensive, because the defensive line is attacking you and you're trying to form that pocket and protect your quarterback. There's nothing better than leaning on tired defensive linemen who are forced to tackle rather than pass rush. And if this Buccaneer team can get a lead into the fourth quarter, you're going to see them lean on the running game. And that's exactly what Todd Bowles wants. His defense on the sidelines, Bucs offense out there for a 4, 5, 7, 8-minute drive, and just wear them out in the Florida heat. And that's going to be the recipe for success.
And the Bears' defensive line, their starters aren't even really that menacing to begin with. So if they have to throw in even more of a rotation because of that, it certainly will bode well for the Bucs. We have a $5 super chat from Furu Kawab. Thank you for the super chat. They say, why you got to bring him up? I'm just kidding. Didn't Aaron Rodgers have a calf issue before he tore his Achilles? And should the Bucs play it safe with Kancey? So for Aaron Rodgers, I want to say it was like around OTAs or minicamp. One of the first practices Rodgers had, he left practice early. He said he felt a little bit of a pull in his calf, but it was very, very much precautionary stuff. And then obviously everything happened with the Monday night game. But, training camp, he practiced for a lot of it, really. Should the Bucs play it safe with Kalijah Kancey? I mean, man, he looked good in those limited snaps that he had in the first game. I mean, we'll see if he practices tomorrow.
Yeah, I think it's going to be the telltale sign. And really, they are playing it safe. The trainers pulled him out of the game. They shut him down. And when he said he felt tightness, and the MRI said there's no re-injury. So they're playing it safe. And he didn't practice today, so they're giving him an extra day of rest. They don't want to lose Kalijah Kancey for the rest of the season. They want him to be a factor. At the same time, they want to win games, and so need him. it's that seesaw effect, right? It's like you gotta You want to play him, but you don't want to get him hurt. But you want to play him, but you don't want to get him hurt. So you have to trust the trainers. And the other X factor too was noticeable. They were in an air conditioned dome last week. Sunday's game is going to be hot, humid. There's going to be probably some rain at some point in time. Usually it's just passing showers in the Tampa Bay area, 30% chance for rain. So that's going to probably make it hotter and steamier when and if the rain comes during the game or before the game. So that's more mindful, because then it's like, then you're talking dehydration, right? And that really causes cramps as well, especially in the calves. So yeah, I suspect they will play it extra safe with Kancey on Sunday if he does play.
And as Gary says, Aaron Rodgers is, I believe he's 39. He turns 40 in December. But yeah, Aaron Rodgers is much older than Kancey, so a little more stress on the body would hit Aaron Rodgers quicker than Kancey.
So
but he's
both
an exciting
of these
player.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt. Both of these teams want to run the ball, right? Especially the Bears, because that doesn't put all the pressure on Justin Fields to win the game. If they can't run the ball against this Bucs stout run defense, then they're going to have to throw it. And they've got a couple of good receivers. Darnell Mooney was the guy that had the touchdown. I've liked him since he came out of Tulane. The Bucs liked him too, kind of a speedster. And Chase Claypool is an absolute turd, if we can just say it. I mean, his play, his effort was awful. It was embarrassing. It's embarrassing that he played as bad as he did, just from an effort standpoint.
Yeah. It's not a shocker when you play at Notre Dame, but anyway.
Yeah. It was incredibly bad. And so Darnell Mooney is a professional. He plays hard. He caught a touchdown pass, but it was really amazing how part of the Bears trade for that number 1 overall pick, when the Panthers moved up to number 1 and the Bears moved back, the Bears probably kicking themselves for not being in a position to get Jalen Carter, right?
Yeah.
Who went to the Eagles. Not that Darnell Wright is a bad pick, but boy, there's not much pass rush. And we'll talk about the Bears defense in a second here, but DJ Moore got held to 2 catches for 25 yards, not just 2 catches, Matt, 2 targets. Yeah. And this is a guy who's making over $20 million a year. The Panthers paid him that much before it traded him. But were you surprised that DJ Moore was not more of a factor? And of course, what that means is now he's going to be really heavily targeted because he's had some success as a former Panther against the Bucs. But what do you make of the Bears passing game with Mooney and Claypool and Moore?
Yeah, I'm with you on Chase Claypool. I mean, the body language just looks terrible when you see him, and you can control your effort. Sometimes things aren't going your way, but you can control the effort that you put in, and Claypool didn't have that at all. Yeah, specifically with the blocking on the screen. The DJ Moore lack of targets is so confusing, is so mind-boggling because he was a big part of that trade, So for DJ Moore, who's been a nightmare for the Bucs, I think you see that a lot. We saw it last year for the Bucs when Mike Evans wasn't targeted that much in the game against the Steelers, and the next week, ironically, against the Panthers, every single football went to Mike Evans. So that's probably the biggest thing that the Bucs are going to have to watch out for is DJ Moore, because you can't have a talent like him and only target him twice. And sure, the game was slipping away from the Bears, but it's just kind of inexcusable. It's your wide receiver 1. It's the first game of the season. Jair Alexander is a really good cornerback in this league, but and especially with all the motion that the Bears have and the different designs that they have, their offensive coordinator, I'm already not a big fan of. I mean, there was one goal line drive where Justin Fields, it was like a play action bootleg to the right side. And Justin Fields rolls out to the right side, and he had a receiver on that side. But over on the left, they had one of the receivers run like a pivot to the left boundary in the end zone. It's like, if you're doing a QB bootleg to the right side, why are you running around all the way to the boundary on the left side? You're just taking your guy out of the play. So I think, I mean, Todd Bowles, I think, is going to dominate this.
I do too.
Offensive coordinator versus defensive play caller matchup against Chicago. And if I'm the Bears, I force feed DJ Moore the ball, because whether it's an injured Carlton or Jamel Dean, some guys just always have the number of like a team or a certain player or whatever. And
Right.
DJ Moore had the Bucs number last year. Wouldn't be a bad idea if you're the Bears to go back to that well.
Yeah, and especially just manufacture some touches, wide receiver screens, quick slants, something quick, rhythmic to get the ball in DJ Moore's hands, because really he's their best and most explosive weapon on offense, certainly in the passing game. And it was just shocking that they only threw his way twice. So when you look at the Bears defense, Matt, and Cole Kmet, he's going to be getting some touches, obviously, at the tight end position. I think Tampa Bay did a pretty good job on TJ Hawkinson last week.
Absolutely.
And that bodes well, I think, for them against the Bears this week. When you look at the Bears defense, wow. I mean, Eddie Jackson's a takeaway machine, but they didn't have any turnovers at all on defense. They lost the turnover battle 2-0 to Green Bay. Whether it's Brett Favre, whether it's Aaron Rodgers, now Jordan Love, the Bears just get owned by the Packers, even in Chicago. So it was a rough start, 38-20. A brutal loss at home for the Bears. Matt Eberflus only won 3 games last year. Remember, he's replacing Matt Nagy, who won 6 games in his final season before getting fired. So it's never good to have the win total chopped in half from the previous guy. We saw that with Greg Schiano, who won 4 games in his final season in 2013. Then Lovie Smith comes in and only wins 2 games, replacing Schiano the next year in 2014. So Matt Eberflus, I think, already on the hot seat in Chicago. Doesn't seem like he's the guy unless they really right the ship pretty quickly here. But I'm looking across the Bears, and I know that they revamped their linebacking core, and that's probably from a talent standpoint.
Yeah,
the strength of this unit. They've got a couple of guys they imported, TJ Edwards from Philadelphia, and then Tremaine Edmonds from Buffalo. Both those guys combined for 22 tackles, 14 from Edwards, 8 from Edmonds, who had 7 solo tackles. But both of those guys seemed like they were liabilities in pass coverage last week.
And that goes extremely well for the specific type of offense that Dave Canales runs, with the slants and the mesh routes and going across, getting these linebackers to move left to right. So, yeah, I think the pre-snap motion and everything might be the biggest advantage for the Bucs going into this game. And then, the defensive line, Yannick Ngakoue had a sack and a couple tackles for loss, but that was about it for the Bears defensive line. So while the Bucs offense and their offensive line pass protection was pretty stellar, while they still figure out that run game, this is a pretty good opportunity for them to really get that going. And I think we're kind of just going to see another great balance for the Bucs offense against the Bears defense. And I know Todd Bowles in the past has said we don't necessarily need to be balanced. Like, we're going to do whatever we need to win. And I don't even think the Bucs need to be 50-50 run pass. But last week they were pretty close to it, and it seemed like a pretty good recipe, especially in the second half. I'm curious to see if we know they want to run the ball, but if they don't have too much success and they find themselves moving the ball quickly with the just really short passes and getting the yards after the catch to take advantage against the linebackers, I'm curious if that's how we'll see the Bucs exploit them.
Yeah, I think so. Really, Ngakoue is the only guy that really concerns me in the front four when you look at the Bears. Maybe they have to get their linebackers involved in some blitzes, to not just run blitzes to help stuff the run, but try to get after Baker Mayfield. You look at these linebackers, and I'm not saying they're not athletic, but they're not the heat-seeking missile type of linebackers. You've got Tremaine Edmonds, who's 6'4", 250 pounds. You've got TJ Edwards, who's 6'3", 242 pounds. So they're bigger, stockier linebackers that are built to stuff the run, but didn't even do that good of a job last week as the Packers ran for 92 yards. But up front, you've got Ngakoue, you've got Andrew Billings, and you got Justin Jones, those 2 defensive tackles who are better run stuffers than they are pass rushers. And then DeMarcus Walker is the other defensive end, and he's not exactly a guy that's going to scare you from a pass rushing standpoint. He did have 7 sacks with Tennessee in 2022, so they brought him there to help provide some pass rush, but that was really the most sacks he had in a season. He bounced around and started off at Denver, where he topped out at 4.5 sacks. 1 year in Houston with 2, and then last year with 7. Was he a bit of a one-year wonder as a pass rusher? That could be the case. Didn't see much from him last week against the Packers. So we'll see. And this Bucs pass protection, I thought, held up really well in a tough environment in Minnesota last week. No false starts, as Todd Bowles said today, and only 2 holding penalties. Both of those declined, and only surrendered 1 sack. And as we talked about on Monday's show, Baker Mayfield owned up to that sack today.
Yeah, he did. He took credit for it, or I took blame for it, but credit to him for taking the blame. We got a super chat from the Loot Group. Life on our terms. Thank you for the $1.99 super chat saying, loving the live game reaction highlight video. Thank you very much. Yeah, that's part of the Pewter Game Day stream. I'm very happy that you enjoyed it. Maybe we'll put one out again this week. And of course, we got the Pewter Game Day show coming up again this Sunday. It'll start at 12 noon for Bucs versus Bears. That'll be our preview. And then we roll right into the game when kickoff gets going. I'll be on the call. I believe Josh Capo will be with me as well. Josh always has fantastic observations about the game, different formations and lineups that the Bucs and the Bears will have. So very excited for that. Hopefully we'll have some good reactions too if the Bucs play well in that one. And if you want to bet on the game, you can go and do it at MyBookie.ag. Use the promo code Pewter to get a first deposit bonus with MyBookie. You get a 10% sign up cash bonus with your deposit using Pewter, Pewter, as the bonus. It's a maximum of $200 and a minimum of $45 that's required to get that deposit bonus. And there's a one-time rollover as well. But football's back in full swing. It's always so much fun to bet on football, but you can do it for all the different sports as well. So go to mybookie.ag, and even if you learn from Platt City Math, that's a heck of a deal to get that free deposit bonus over at MyBookie.
Yep. Another super chat. Boy, you Pewter people coming through strong. Strong start for the Buccaneers. Strong start for you Pewter people here, all the way from last week through Pewter Game Day, through the post-game podcast, through Monday's podcast, which was the Victory Monday podcast. We always love Mondays because we do roll call at 4:20. Yeah. And continuing it today with Meets McGee, $5 super chat, Matt.
Yeah, Meets McGee says, this game concerns me. We love playing down to opponents, plus they could be looking towards the Monday Night Football Philly game. In the past, I think you have a point, Meets McGee.
Yeah.
But I think this team still feels really disrespected for how everybody thinks they're going to be a bottom 5 team this year. And I don't think winning one game has changed a lot of the outside opinion of the Buccaneers. So I still think they have a lot to prove. And you know what could prove a lot is if they kick the crap out of the Bears this week, and then you go 2-0 on Monday Night Football and you beat the Eagles, that will start getting people's opinions changed.
Yes.
But you have to take care of the first piece of business first.
Right.
The Bucs could win, and if they win by 1 point, I don't think anyone's really going to be satisfied. So I very much do think that they still feel disrespected.
And listen, I mean, the Buccaneers needed a 57-yard field goal to beat the Vikings, right? They needed a 3-0 turnover margin. There's nobody right now at the Advent Health Training Center, One Buccaneer Place, that feels like they stomped the Vikings and that they did anything special. They got a road win, a hard-fought road win. The defense can play better. The pass rush needs to come alive. It didn't really in Minnesota. They did have some takeaways that were fortunate. The running game did not get going. The offense stalled mightily in the first half. So there's a lot to work on, a lot to improve on. I do not think that this Bucs team is coming out beating their chest and thinking that this is going to be an easy win by any means. Again, it took a 3-0 turnover margin to beat the Vikings by 3 points. So the margin for error for this team until it really gets going is still pretty narrow. And I think this team knows that. So as KGH for Life says, Yannick stole $10 million from the Bears. He doesn't even try to play the run. I think that's why Yannick Ngakoue has kind of been bounced around the league, because he is a pass rusher, but does not play the run exceptionally well. So we'll see if Todd Bowles takes advantage of that, especially Dave Canales, and runs the ball right at him. And it'll be interesting to see if they line up Yannick Ngakoue against Luke Gedeke, or if they just try to run him into a brick wall that is Tristan Wirfs at left tackle. I know Yannick typically, even from his days with the Ravens, likes to line up on the right side against left tackles. That seems like a losing proposition this week against Tristan Wirfs, who looked damn good, looked Pro Bowl ready as a left tackle. And if you're looking for a home to purchase, or if you're looking to sell your home, I got a Pro Bowler for you. It's Eric Gross with the Eric Gross Group. If you're not familiar with Eric Gross, the Eric Gross Group is the official realtor of Pewter Report, and they will help you tackle your real estate goals because they're the winning real estate agents that you need to get the job done. Eric has done hundreds of transactions in the real estate market that is kind of crazy, especially in the state of Florida. So he's got experience in all the right situations. Eric is an avid Pewter Report reader, so why not do business with the fellow Tampa Bay fan? He wants to build a relationship with his clients. He doesn't treat them like they're transactions. Matter of fact, a lot of his clients end up being lifelong friendships that end up having that relationship to where if they're going to sell their house again and buy another house, right, they go back to Eric. And that's the type of service you get at the Eric Gross Group. They can help you turn your dream of buying or selling your home into a reality, whether you're moving into the state of Florida or out of the state of Florida or around the state of Florida. Don't let the stress of buying or selling a home keep you out of the game. Let the Eric Gross Group take the pressure off. Find them on Facebook and Instagram at Eric Gross Group, or check out their website, housesinfla.com. That's Houses in FLA. Go to that website, check out their inventory, give them a call at 513-907-4271. Again, Houses in FLA. No matter where you are in your home ownership journey, you'll feel welcome at the Eric Gross Group, the official realtor of Pewter Report.
We have to play this video from Baker Mayfield today.
Let's do it.
As we close out the show. So there's been this whole Rachaad White kind of got the ball rolling. And anyway, it had kind of been revealed that Baker had picked up on some of the signs that the Vikings had and kind of knew what Minnesota was going to do on defense.
In terms of the audible, the hand signals and things like that. Yeah.
Which I think has been blown out of proportion a lot.
Yeah.
Like, again, the Bucs only scored 20 points. They scored 10 points in each half, so they didn't get that much of an advantage. So Baker was asked about it, and if you're a baseball fan, you know the big scandal with the Houston Astros from a couple seasons ago with stealing signs. This has the internet in an absolute frenzy right now, but Baker Mayfield took a little bit of a shot at the Houston Astros.
I know I'm in Tampa, but I'm a Texas Rangers fan, not a Houston Astros fan, so we're not going to condone that.
Absolutely hilarious.
That's good stuff.
Another takeaway real quick. Todd Bowles called Baker a quarterback with an offensive lineman mentality.
Yeah.
And I thought that was quite interesting.
He's a quarterback with an offensive lineman mentality. Now, you don't want your quarterback doing it too much, but, he'll make the yards when he has to make the yards when the game is on the line. And he plays very smart. That doesn't mean he's a renegade by any means. It just means that he's willing to go the extra mile to put his face in the fan when the situation calls for it. And hopefully he doesn't have to do that too much where he can get banged up. But offensive linemen feed off of that, and then he becomes one of them, and it's a rallying cry for the offense.
The lineman's mentality. Your thoughts on that statement?
I love football. I mean, it's the game of football. It's a physical game. I've always loved it. Love contact. You can't shy away from it. I think that's how you get hurt. But obviously, like I mentioned, playing quarterback's a little bit different story. So, definitely want to protect yourself. But I always want to be a part of the guys. There's something about that, just being involved, showing them that I like to get down and dirty with them as well.
Yep. And tomorrow you can check out more Bears Bucs coverage. Bucs rare favorites versus the Bears. It's a 4:00 podcast tomorrow with Bears insider Jacob Infante. And a quick question here. Speaking of D, what's up with Logan Hall? Well, I'm going to have a Pewter Pulse tomorrow about Logan Hall. So make sure you check that out on Pewter Report TV, which is, of course, our YouTube page, almost up to 12,000, thanks to you awesome Pewter people. So please keep liking and subscribing. Subscribe to Pewter Report TV, which is our YouTube channel. Keep liking all the videos. Helps our algorithm, gets us in front of more Buccaneer fans. And, of course, you can find us on X, Instagram, Facebook, and Threads at Pewter Report. And visit pewterreport.com for more Bucs insight, game coverage, injury reports, and stories about your favorite team.
All right, that's going to do it for us on today's show. For Scott Reynolds, I'm Matt Matera saying thanks, everybody, for watching. And we'll see you tomorrow for another edition of the Pewter Report podcast. Peace out.
Out.